Hello, and welcome to another episode of Unboxing Women, where we explore why women in business are often called such a bitch, with a focus on the music and entertainment industry. My name is Dana Rex, and with me is my friend Micah Rose, and we are both independent recording artists and singer-songwriters based in Europe. You can listen to us on our YouTube channel and on your favorite podcast platform. Today, our guest is Simone Schibor, and she has experience as a senior manager, editorial and label relations at Deezer. Simone, welcome to the pod.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
So tell us, how did you make your first steps into the music business?
Well, I started out after school. I started out doing an apprenticeship in the media industry. So I worked for TV and radio stations at that time. And that was sort of my first steps in the music business in general, working for music departments at radio stations in Hamburg and in Berlin. And then I studied popular music studies and cultural studies and did a few internships. And then I ended up in the streaming business, where I feel like that was like the first proper job, like I was going to say 9 to 5, but there was never 9 to 5. But the first proper job, Monday to Friday in the music business. And yeah, that's what I have been doing for the past 6 years.
Wow. Yeah. I wanted to go back to your radio programming days, actually. So you ended up as an intern at a radio, but you did a couple of things in radio, didn't you, in the meantime?
I did. Yeah, I started as as an apprentice, and then I went back as an intern just in the music department. And afterwards, while I was studying, I was working for different radio stations and actually presenting my own radio shows and doing own radio programs, basically.
Wow.
Which was really fun. It was I studied in a small town in Lower Saxony in Germany, where we had a local radio station, and there I was on a show called Pop Crawl. And basically, we talked about pop music, which is my favorite, and any kind of, let's say, popular music, not just pop music, but popular music. And so, yeah, I worked on Pop Crawl. And then when I was studying abroad in Norway, I made a couple of episodes about Norwegian music. So, I've always been into sort of radio and music, like special music programs within radio.
All right. Well, Micah, I'm hearing she did her own programming. So
I know.
I want to ask you a question. So with regards to radio programming, we have heard of an unwritten rule that songs by women are not put back to back, but must have kind of like 2 or 3 male songs in between. Have you ever come across this rule? Is this real?
That rule is definitely not a myth. It's
Here we go.
Well, I have to say I have to be really defensive here, because I haven't been working for the radio in like 10 years probably. And I've never did radio programming for like the proper mainstream radios. I've always like been in the sort of special interest radio programs, where a lot of that is like hand curated, I want to say, and not based on a program. But they're like playlisting programs for radio, where they put rules into this program, and according to the rules, the program just picks like songs from certain playlist pools. So, and there used to be, back in the days, and I hope it's not the case anymore, but I can confirm, but there used to be a rule that you shouldn't have 2 female songs back to back.
Oh my God.
We have it
The tea is spilled, people. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we had heard about this.
Geez.
And now I understand. So yeah, it's in the
So it's in the programming and
that
not
they
necessarily the people themselves, or it used to be. So yeah.
It used to be. I mean, it's like it's the same for any kind of anything that's based on like algorithm or something. I mean, there's also the let's say the criticism that the algorithm, for example, on streaming services is sexist, I guess, if you want to say that. Like I don't know if that's the right word. We might have to let's do that again.
It's gender unequal.
Yeah. How do you say, like, if it's like pro male?
Well, yeah, it's pro male. Yeah, it's just normal,
it's
actually. The algorithm is sexist. I think you're right in using that word. It's the problem is who programmed that? Because why did they program that in? So indeed, yeah, if you're using like a radio programming software that chooses automatically from pools, then you can put in your own rules. So it's just that in the olden days, they probably also did it that way and then thought, okay, we're going to bring our manual rules into these new programs that we're starting to use. And
it's also, though, it could also be, if you want to delve a little bit into the subject, it could also be, every time I have conversations with friends of mine who are not in the music business about sexism in the music industry, they say, but I do prefer listening to male voices. And I just sit there and I'm like, but do you actually, or do you just think you do? Because that's all you're hearing.
Yeah.
So it's like, does it perpetuate this sexism into society? And do we then internalize it? Or is it inherent? Like, it's a big, big question.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I went into this kind of stuff for my master thesis, where I wrote about like how traditional portrayal of femininity was like a success model in pop music. So or like if females are the traditional female, they are more successful in pop music. That was sort of my argument, and I tried to prove it on Taylor Swift. Which I'm a huge fan, but that's it doesn't matter right now. But I looked into a lot of like literature about how we as a society perceive female voices and male voices, and I remember like one paragraph where they said that news anchors, for example, used to be male because the lower the voice is, the more serious we take them, and whatever they say, we take that more seriously. So female anchors back in the days, they were only picked if they had like really low voices. Otherwise, they weren't taken seriously. And
wow. That does tie into, however, something I read about a while back now, about how the I don't know if it's a generational thing, but since I think in the last 100 years or something, women's voices have dropped a couple of, is it hertz or like frequency wise or notes? They've dropped a couple of notes. And it seems there may be a link between the lowering register and the kind of becoming more equal on terms. So like the confidence, the kind of just being able to be yourself and not having to have a feminine voice, and not having to smile all the time, because when you smile all the time, your voice gets higher. So there is a correlation there, and it's really interesting.
And also when you're nervous, you speak higher, in a higher tone. So, the fact that indeed we are able to be ourselves now, we might speak in a lower tone that way. But okay,
well, you do anyway.
I should become a news anchor. That's basically what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. You're definitely, I mean, they will take you seriously. That's for sure.
I'm not sure about that though. But I'm going to give it a try. No, seriously, I didn't know that. Is your thesis available somewhere? I want to read this. It sounds super interesting. And
well, I can send it to you, but it's in German. So
I can try translating some of it, but I mean, you do speak a little bit of German.
I can read German. That's not a problem. As long as you don't want me to speak it, that's totally fine. At your own peril. No, that's really interesting. And so you used Taylor Swift, and did you prove it that we have to be feminine and basically the male view of what a woman should be, so like hourglass and the frilly hair and stuff like that. Do you mean that, or what do you mean exactly?
Well, what I found out was that there are less ways of women to be popular, or like there's you have the good girl, and then you have the femme fatale basically, and then you have the exotic one, and you have like the one that doesn't really fit into any of the other three models, but just has like a amazing voice. So basically you have like a set of rules that females have to fit in to be marketed for the pop music industry and be successful in the industry. Of course, back in the days, it was a lot, I think it was a lot stricter, and nowadays it's definitely more open. But compared to that, for guys, there were more ways for them to develop as an artist. They could be, when you look at Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera, they basically had a similar way of development throughout their career, and they weren't like developing in totally different ways. And I basically said that this is probably why they ended up being successful. And people that sort of,
they're basically the same. I mean, if you look at clothes and, videos, if you take away the sound, it looks exactly the same. And blonde as well. Blonde. It was like you were saying, and there's this one and that one. It was like a collection of Barbies, basically.
Basically, yeah. Basically a collection of Barbies. Whereas, I mean, there's also a collection of Kens, obviously, but I think the Kens, meaning the male Barbies, are the ones that have more ways to develop. And let's take, for example, Robbie Williams, who was like in a boy band, and he was the bad guy, and then he developed into being like doing like a swing album, and then he went back to being a bad guy, and then he was kind of cute because he was a father, and so like he had way more facets, I guess, that he could live out and still be successful. Of course, one could say, okay, look at Taylor Swift. She also, or look at Madonna, or look at Lady Gaga. They also sort of developed from one way to another. But I feel like females have to reinvent themselves way stronger to be taken seriously in their next step or for their next album. Whereas males, they just get like the sort of the free pass to do whatever. And I mean, Ed Sheeran, he hasn't done anything. I
wanted to say Ed Sheeran. I thought Mike is gonna kill me, but yeah.
I mean, I think he's absolutely, he's definitely one of my pop music heroes, and I think he's brilliant. But he hasn't, like Taylor Swift has reinvented herself for every album. And Ed Sheeran, there was no need for him to reinvent himself for every album. He still, he still does his thing, and one could say, hey, he's successful with that. But I think someone like Taylor or someone like Britney wouldn't be successful doing the same thing over and over for 3 albums or 4 albums, 5 albums.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true.
It's actually really interesting. Like, yes, I completely agree. However, I feel like if we're going into Ed Sheeran has done something completely different for his new album, and I don't like it. So it's just kind of like,
you win some, you lose some. You'll still be a fan of his other stuff, and maybe on the next one, stuff, so it's a bit like, take Madonna. I think that's like the best example, because obviously the lifespan has been much longer, and you can actually really see her change once she got into her own after like the Holiday album. There was Erotica, and then she was playing, one person, and then there was what's it called, with Frozen on it, the Ray of Light album, which was her most successful album, and she was already in her 40s, it's always totally different, and all these characters that she plays of being just reinventing herself, really. And Lady Gaga did that too, and then she went to jazz as well to say, hey, I don't only like this kind of music, I also like that, so let me do an album in that. And obviously, why not, I think that's pretty cool. And but with Ed Sheeran, it's a bit, this is working for us, so let's just keep doing that until it doesn't work anymore. And for women, I don't really see anybody else,
like, he wants to do something different.
Until he wants to do something different.
With women, if they want to do something different but the other stuff is working, oftentimes they're not allowed to.
Yeah.
So.
And I think, like, with Ed Sheeran, I think he has reinvented himself musically, definitely that, but he's never reinvented himself like image-wise or the way he's portrayed. And I think that's totally different for females. Like, if like when Lady Gaga went into being like doing stripped down versions and being more like a songwriter on her Joanne album, she was like way, way different from the way she portrayed herself on all the other albums before. So I feel like if females or women want to go in a different direction musically, they have to do it with like their whole being and their whole image and everything. And I think that's different for males, because Ed Sheeran, he can do like a rap song with Stormzy and still be the same guy who also plays the acoustic guitar and sings like a love ballad.
In the same t-shirt.
And
both
also,
videos.
He can do, what was it? Oh God, what was his name? He did, he did the same song with Beyonce as well, but he also did it with that Italian, he's really well known.
Eros Ramazzotti? Did he
was
it?
No. It was, I'd have
with
to look
Beyonce.
it up.
Oh, Andrea Bocelli.
Yeah, exactly. He did Dancing in the Dark, dancing, perfect. I think it's perfect.
I think he got out, I think. Was it that one or Perfect? No, maybe it was Perfect.
I think it's You Look Perfect Tonight. That was the one. So yeah. And he did that at pretty much the same time as he did Perfect, I think, or Thinking Out Loud with Beyonce, one of them. So it was like, he can go from Andrea Bocelli is a very different person.
Yeah. No,
Beyonce or Stormzy. So it's really interesting. Yeah.
Definitely. But I think that with him, it's the others that are looking to integrate him into as a specialty act, because he is specialized in, that kind of classical vocal style, and that's what they source him for. So he's going to stay true to what he does, but obviously he's not saying no to, doing this in a rap song or a song with Beyonce or something else. But he is still singing the same type of voice that he always does, though.
Yeah,
you see?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like Snoop Dogg. He's everywhere, but he always does his thing,
True.
So,
True.
well, yeah. Oh God, I'm still, buzzing with the radio programming.
Same.
We've been actually
tea is
looking
hot.
for the tea is very hot. Looking for somebody to talk to about that. So thank you for sharing that, Simone. That's really insightful. And so, yeah, for the past 6 years, you have been responsible for a myriad of editorial playlists as well, and also artist campaigns. So can you tell us a bit more about managing these playlists and what the decision process looks like?
Yes. So basically, I had a set of playlists that I updated and curated, from like new releases playlists to back catalog playlists or moods playlists or special occasion playlists. And when we look at the new releases process, then it's usually that distributors, labels, managements send pitches to the music department of streaming services. Meaning pitches means that they just send the new releases that are coming out the week, like the next Friday or the Friday after. And the music editors go through the pitches and listen to the songs and then pick the ones that go into the playlist. When it comes to back catalog playlists or like let's say like pop hits of the 90s or something, of course we don't get pitches. Then the process is a bit different because we already have like the pool of songs on the platform, so we can just pick and choose the songs that we want to put into this playlist. And once the songs are in the playlist, it doesn't matter which one, but in either playlist, we do what's called optimization. So basically, the days after we playlisted songs, we look at the performance of the songs within the playlist, and then we decide which songs we're going to pull up inside the playlist, pull down, throw out, exchange, etc. So,
okay. And this is done on a weekly basis, or?
Well, the new releases are done on a weekly basis because new songs come out every Friday, and the back catalog playlists are usually done whenever they are needed, and the optimization is done as much as possible so we can assure that the playlists are performing well.
Yeah. I always thought, is it based on numbers or a certain kind of reporting that you get from various sources as well? But so it's more the pitching list for new songs, I mean. Or do you also actively look for new songs sometimes, or is that you don't have time for that?
We actually don't have time for that to actively look for songs. So we have the pitches, and we depend our decisions on the pitches, and also on of course on trends that are happening. So for example, if there's a song trending on TikTok that has been out for 3 or 4 years, we don't get that as a pitch for a Friday because it's not a new release. But we pick those trends up as well and put that into the playlists because that's reflecting the music market at that time.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. And what about awareness around gender issues on like a corporate level at companies like this? Are there any actions being taken with regard to making sure there's an equal amount of opportunities for women and non-binary artists, as well as, as there are for men, actually? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we actually last year we put, for example, just to make like the small steps on our level that we could do, we put into our pitching sheet a column where the distributors had to add what gender the pitches or the artists are that they are pitching. And for us, we just realized whenever we were playlisting, we as music editors just realized that, of course, there's a lot more male songs in the playlists, and even in genres where you would expect more females. You see more females than in other playlists, but you still see like barely more females than 50%. So it's like you get to the bare minimum that there should be 50-50. But we just wanted to make it more transparent for us to see, and also for the ones that pitch us to see how the gender balance is in the pitches, to maybe work in a more positive way when it comes to parody.
Yeah, because they're also choosing who to pitch to you firstly, and then in that list you choose who to put on the playlist. So it's 2 filters, and if that's twice, we're only going to put male, or we there's this internalized thing where you just unwillingly, unknowingly just keep picking males, then it keeps on going. Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, so pitches every week, and then I'm just, I think a lot of artists are going to think that's really interesting, because I don't think a lot of people know when they're distributing that these pitch lists actually exist. Of course, Spotify now has the pitch that you can do on their on their artist platform. It is, but yeah, this is probably true for all the others as well. And it's labels and distributors, right? That fill in these pitches.
Yes, mainly labels and distributors, but also managements and artists can pitch individually, which is also done on Deezer.
That must have been a lot of work, though. You listened to a lot of music the past couple of years.
I have listened to a lot of music, probably more music than I have listened to in the first 25 years of my life. But it's I mean, after a while, I remember the first weeks being a music editor, I was just overwhelmed by the number of songs I had to listen to, and I started, of course, listening to each song from beginning to end, and then I was like thinking, where am I going to put it? And then at the end of a day, I was like, I'm still not done. I'm still not finished listening to all the songs that have been pitched. So I needed some time to realize that this is not possible. It's not possible to listen to all the songs that are being pitched. And even like each day, there are like a couple thousands of songs being distributed to the platform. So, and the pitches, I mean, in the beginning, maybe we had like 100 songs being pitched, and years later we were like at least 300 or 400 per week being pitched to us, and it's
impossible. Yeah,
it's impossible.
Jeez.
And where do you start for like a playlist? Let's say chill house, for example. How do you? Because it's maybe half. It's a genre playlist, so you have half legacy, maybe the chill hits from the past that are in there, but also new songs. I'm supposing they are pitched as well. But I mean, it's just so wide and not date specific. How do you even start with something like that?
It usually depends on what kind of playlist that is. Like the chill house playlist is something. For example, if there's not a playlist yet, let's say there's a playlist for dance, and you have like the future house, the big room, like the right 4 to the floor dance music, and you have a playlist for that. And then you feel like, okay, I definitely want to pick up at that time it was like the trend, the tropical house trend, or the sort of the chill house, yoga house, however you want to call it, but you want to pick up that trend and put it into a playlist. Usually when I created new playlists, this is how it happened. I just observed the pitches that I got throughout the week or the weeks, and whatever was out there in the music world. And I realized that, oh, there's a lot of songs that have like a certain sound to it. And then you start putting together those songs, and then you start digging deeper and being like, okay, where do they actually come from? Like, what's the basis of those songs? Who came up with this trend, or who came up with the initial sound of this, the sound that's now around? Or you just keep it like in the present and be like, okay, there's a, I don't know, there's a trend for, it's not tropical house anymore. I'd say the trend is almost over, but there's a trend for a certain kind of sound. And then you just start picking the songs that are out there and putting them together in a playlist.
I see.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like, the start is kind of organic, and then it just okay, oh, this is a trend now, and then it's probably easier.
Yeah. It always starts with an idea. Either it starts with an idea of a sound of a playlist that you want to create, or it starts with facts that you see that people listen to this kind of music. I remember when, it's more Micah might remember that, but there was like a German rap trend a few years back, where they were bringing a lot of the I'd say like the sound that was really popular in France, the Afro trap sound basically was brought to Germany and into German rap. And then there was like this huge success for like Afro trap in German rap. And that is also something where it's like, okay, the kids out there are listening to this new sound. So we have to pick that up and we have to integrate that into our normal rap playlist, but we also have to create a new playlist for that, because it's bubbling up.
Special. Yeah. Something. Yeah, it's all these new genres. Yoga house. What did you say, yoga house? I've never heard of that.
Well, I mean,
yeah, it's not. I don't think it's I don't think there's actually there's a definition for yoga house.
Should come up with it.
Yeah, I remember when I was talking to friends about this kind of house, and I was like, like the stuff that Kaigo does, it's like tropical house. And I remember one friend was like, yeah, you mean the yoga house style? And I was like, okay, yeah, yoga house.
Yeah, it comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
It really does. Yeah. Oh, we have another question for you. It's a question we ask everybody here, which is, have you ever been called such a bitch?
That's a long thing.
Is the tea going to continue to be boiling?
In a professional way, in a professional setting.
I have not. I don't think I have. I've not. I think I've the way, sometimes the way I was treated, I felt like this person was thinking it, but they were never saying it out loud.
I see.
Yeah.
Have you been called?
Yeah, we have both been called bitches. So we're like, we ask everybody, and then, but actually it just seems to be us.
Well, I mean, to be fair, maybe it is us, but maybe it's also, I mean, I've mainly been called like a diva, which was in like, years ago now. It hasn't actually been recent. Like recently it's been more different things, but years ago I was called a diva. Well, not music related. And I was just there like, why?
But you were a kid. You were a kid then.
Exactly.
I don't think they would use the word bitch for a kid. Maybe if you were
exactly.
older
So
in that
it's
moment.
more like the kind of, and being a diva, what does that actually mean? It means you're asserting yourself, you know what you want, and maybe you have a little bit of an attitude. Which, is that really that bad though?
Who was calling you this again? Was it a man?
Oh, it was a man. This sounds strange when I say it, but I was in a kids musical group, and I just generally was the best singer there. and so I would, sing in all the demos and always have like a big musical number, even if I had a small role, because not necessarily just because I wanted it, but because also the director was like, oh my God, yes, we need to use her voice, blah, blah, blah. So he knew that I was a good singer and he knew, all of that. But at some point it was a Christmas party where a friend of mine and me had rewritten one of his songs to it was jokey but in a funny way, to kind of make fun of him a little bit, but we were kids and it was funny. Like other people said it was funny. But and then after that, he called me a diva. So it was more, he's a diva and his ego got hurt. And then he called me a diva. So, he was like, oh, yes. So next year, like, what was it?
Oh, you didn't get the big.
No. He said 20% more something and 80% less diva would be nice. And I was just like,
okay.
All right.
You took that the wrong way on the Christmas party.
Yeah, it was something that stuck with me because there's moments in life where, like, yes, obviously I was a teenager and teenagers can be arrogant and annoying and whatever, and I'm sure I was all of those things. But at the same time, I don't know if it's so, like, generally.
No, but
I think an
right.
adult should know better than to call me a diva in that sense, especially since I wasn't the one giving myself all these songs.
No, exactly.
So I don't know. So that was my earliest experience, I think, with that type of thing, and I was probably about 12 or 11. So
that's still young, yeah. It's not like you were 16 or something.
No, I quit that place when I was 13. Huh. But yeah.
Oh, so. Simone, we were saying just before we started recording that you had done some music when you were a kid.
I have, yes. I played the piano and the guitar. And I was in my bachelor's, I was actually studying music as part of my study program. So I've played music, but I've never I never enjoyed playing in front of people. So for me, it was like sitting at my piano and playing was just really fun, but as soon as people were listening, I was like, no, that's too much pressure. Could you just leave the room, please?
Do you say you can still play, or do you have a guitar still?
I do. I actually have my piano here and I have my guitar here. I unfortunately, and that's always what they told me before I started studying music, they were like, if you make your hobby to your profession, you'll lose your hobby. Yeah. And so actually that was sort of, I mean, I enjoyed my studies and I enjoyed having piano lessons there, but actually my final exam where I had to play in front of like the jury of my professors and stuff like that just hit me a different kind of way. So afterwards I was like, I don't want to play for a while. And
yeah. I get that. I think we've all gone through that.
Yeah, especially if you didn't want to play with people in the room and then you have to go and play in front of all your professors. Oh my God.
Yeah. But I did enjoy, like, we had like small part of the studies, which was really cool. I really enjoyed the study program, but we also had like little bands that we played in and improvised. So I really enjoyed doing that and being around people that are crazy about playing music or making music. But I feel like, and that's also the experience I had when I did, like when I looked at different music, what's it called, colleges, where you can basically just study music, which wasn't what I studied. It was just part of my studies. And I just realized that the what's it called? the competition, the pressure of competition in those music schools is just insane. And I felt this kind of competition within our study program as well, and that it kind of sucked out the fun a little for me, just feeling like I'm in competition with all the other piano players, or I'm in competition with all the other people playing guitar, or
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you about something else. I mean, besides all of the music and editorial work that you've been doing, you also speak and do workshops at music conferences, like there's Most Wanted Music. You were part of the jury at the Music Moves Europe Talent Awards in 2020. How did that happen?
I actually have to, I wasn't in the jury of the Music Moves Europe Talent Awards. I was an ambassador, which means...
I saw that wrong. Sorry.
That's fine. It sounds fancy being in the jury. No, I was actually submitting artists to this award. So
you were submitting them. Oh, I didn't even know that happened that way. Okay.
Yeah, the Eurosonic, they reached out and just asked for our suggestions I guess they reached out to a bunch of people in the music industry and just asked for artist suggestions. And so I sent in my suggestions of artists. And then I had this really nice interview about the one that I submitted, which was a Dutch artist called Nas. But yeah, that was basically, I was in a mailing list from Eurosonic, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to submit an artist?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll do that. I can do that."
And was that you for the whole of Deezer, or were there other people from the same company who also were allowed to submit?
Yes, there were other people as well. They send it to all the music editors in our company. Yeah.
Also good to know. Good to know.
Give us the details.
Eurosonic is notoriously hard to get like a showcase at or something, and they are pretty transparent though with their program, and that they also monitor radio plays, for example, and they look at other shows as well that you're giving or touring. So it's Eurosonic they're very strict. They're very strict about who they put on stage, and I mean, rightfully so. But if you don't know how you can get there, you can't really work on the road. So I think it's important to know how we can work on ourselves and be as good as we can be to get the showcase.
Yes.
Learn to play the game.
You learn to play the game. That's exactly it. And we met at the Key Change Gender Equality Hub at Reeperbahn Festival in Hamburg last year. What made you decide to go networking there?
I was also a friend of mine reached out to me. He works for TuneCore, and he said that this Equality Hub was going on, and if I would be interested in doing the networking. And generally, whenever I'm asked to do any kind of like female supporting female networking, mentoring, whatever there is, I'm usually in for that because I find it really really important, and also interesting meeting other female, other women in the music industry, because I feel like throughout my career so far, I've just had like a few female role models in the industry that I actually looked up to, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like what she's doing, I want to do that. And the rest of the role models, or the rest of the people that I look up to, are all men. And so for me, it's, I don't know, I just hope that there's a shift towards having more female leaders and just a lot of more female participation. And I'm saying, I mean, there's already a lot of women in the industry, and I'm really happy about that. But I feel like we can always do more. So when it comes to like networking or connecting with other women in the industry, I'm usually up for that and interested in doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's really good. And
That's really nice.
Yeah. Is being on a panel at conferences something that you would like to pursue in the future, maybe?
Yes. You mentioned the workshops before. I did a couple workshops that I really enjoyed. Usually, I was going to say peeing my pants beforehand, because just speaking in front of people is intimidating. But usually when I was in the panel or in the workshop, I really enjoyed doing that. So this is definitely something that I really like to continue when I'm a good fit for the panel. Let's say that.
Of course. Yeah, because... Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no, that just makes me want to segue into whether or not when you were working at Diva, they ever did like leadership or management kind of workshops, because like speaking in front of people is obviously a skill to be learned, and that is something I would expect companies to invest in. So did you ever kind of participate in that, or?
I have actually my colleague who does PR for Deezer. She has always been super supportive of anything that I propose to her, being like, "Hey, I want to speak. I want to learn this. I want to do this." So she set up like a speaking and media training course that I participated in. And when it came to like leadership, I also I always said I wanted to lead a team at some point in my career, because I thought that I like that. So I also said that I definitely wanted to do like a leadership course before I have a bunch of people reporting to me and me not knowing what to do with them. So I was like, let me do a course and let me get the hard skills on. And when it comes to the soft skills, I will improve the ones I have, and just go.
Amazing. Yeah. All right. So that was really supported then. That's good.
Yeah. I think it's interesting what you said right at the end there with, if I'm a good fit for the panel, because I've been at conferences where you can clearly see that they've just put the woman there because she's a woman and not specifically for, the skills. Yes, she does kind of fit in because they searched in that kind of area or on that topic. But still, it's always like, how do they ask this? It's like, oh, will you come on the show? Yeah, because we need a woman. I mean, who says yes to that,
I think that would be kind of naive if they actually went to a woman and be like, hey, would you do that because you're a woman? And the woman being like, oh, I can't wait to do that. So
Exactly.
I think they put it nicely and be like, hey, we think you're a really good fit for the panel. Would you be interested in doing that? And once she sits there and sees that there are like 5 men and her, she'll be like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, exactly. You can kind of read it on the faces during the panel. It's like, this was clearly not prepared. They didn't know who was gonna join.
But that just ties into having female role models, right? So you'd expect that to be, or you'd wish there to be more female people on panels, and just kind of so that you actually have somebody to look up to. But it's either, the thing is, the people are out there. The people who are creating these panels just aren't looking hard enough.
No. Yeah. So. It's the same as like a lineup for a festival. Oh, we have like 90% male fronted or like just completely male bands on stage. And then they're like, well, there aren't any female bands. Of course there's like a gazillion. So you're not really, doing your homework.
Oh, Rock am Ring this year, was it 95% men? Something like that?
Yeah.
It's awful.
Oh, was it again? When is it? Is it like in the End of the year of the start or the start?
It was last year.
Yeah, the last year.
Yeah, no, not this year.
Yeah, Micah told us there was like this whole thing in Germany with, oh my God, it's 95% male, which is just not good, is it? It's not good. It's not good.
It's not good. No, this is something that I think, like you said, you just have to look harder, and then you will find enough women to participate in a panel. You'll find enough. I remember like projects that we did in electronic music for Deezer, where I know the team, they could have gone the easy way and be like, hey, electronic music is just done by males, so we're just going to pick like 10 male artists we're going to work with. But no, they were like, no, there are definitely women out there too doing electronic music, so let's dig deeper and let's find females. And so I think this is more like I also think that the more we pick men over and over again, the more we just overshadow the women that are actually there. So I think it's good to try as hard as possible to just dig out the women that are out there. Mm-hmm. And also when it comes to panels, I say that just for myself, that I don't want to sit at a panel where I'm not a good fit for, but I've been to many panels where there are a bunch of men that are definitely not a good fit, and they were like sitting on stage and talking stuff where I'm like, why are you there? What's your
what are you doing here?
What's your purpose? Are you here to bring the coffee?
No, but it's true. You're absolutely right. It's not only, oh, you're a woman, can you come and join? Sometimes, you're just wondering, what's going on? So, yeah, absolutely. Well, on that note, Micah.
Oh, yes. So I think on that note, that would be all for today. So thank you all for tuning into this week's episode of Unboxing Women, and thank you, Simone, for coming on our show. We've had an absolute blast.
Thank you.
And if you have ever had an experience you'd like to share with us, send us a DM or tag us in your post with the hashtag #suchabitch. And don't forget to support your favorite artists through merch or donations. My name is Micah Rose, and I've been chatting with Dana, Rex, and Simone. This is a weekly show, so make sure to tune back in next week, same time, same place. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you soon.